Perspective now from the Middle East. And let's cross to Abu Dhabi to speak to Tom Fletcher, a former British ambassador to Lebanon, who also recently wrote this book, Naked Diplomacy, making him the naked diplomat. You are now suitably attired for TV, I see, and I'm grateful for that, sir. We're going to get to your 21st century take on Her Majesty's service in a moment. First, let's do Brexit. What would a Brexit mean for the Middle East and its investors?
Well, I think a lot of people here recognise that there's a vibrant debate going on, and, you know, they respect that. And it's been pretty bruising. It's been a tough few months, but it's been very healthy that we've been able to have this debate about our own future. And I think many people in this region would relish a similar debate. But look, the thing is, on Friday morning, whatever happens in the referendum, we'll still, you know, our role as a major world power is not on the ballot paper. And we'll still be spending 2% of our budget on defence. We'll still be one of the few countries in the world spending 0.7% on development. And we'll still be sat there as a member, a permanent member and an active member of the UN Security Council. So there's a lot of life will carry on.
Tom, Forbes, writing an article about, you know, the potential for a Brexit and its effect on the region that you are in, wrote this: the long-running negotiations between the EU and the GCC, the Gulf states, have been bedeviled by European concerns over human rights, which the Gulf government, it says, have balked at, including in any deal. Now, that would suggest better business with Britain's friends in the Gulf, at least were the UK to cut a deal that had fewer caveats. Not that I'm suggesting the UK has looser ethics. Would you agree with that?
I think, you know, those concerns over human rights are European concerns, but they're also very strongly British concerns, and they won't go away as a result of the referendum. And I think many people, many countries in the region will hope that there would be a simpler way of doing business with us. But whatever the result on Thursday, we are still going to be this major trading nation, and we're still going to have some of the most powerful creative industries in the world. We're still going to have this fantastic soft power offer to the world around the Premiership, the royal family, our arts and culture and music. And so I think, you know, I think both sides in this debate have been strongest when they've made the case on the basis of Britain's positive role in the world, and have not made the case on the basis of a retreat.
Mr. Ambassador, let us discuss naked diplomacy and discuss why you believe, quote, abandoning the banquet in favour of a smartphone, end quote, is the recipe for success in 21st century foreign policy. For our viewers' sake, a quote from your newly published book, and I quote, increasingly it matters less what a prime minister or diplomat says is our policy on an issue. It matters what the users of Google, Facebook or Twitter decide that it is. You seem to suggest a war for our minds, the internet, the battlefield, pointing to ISIS propaganda videos as just one example. But surely in the end, ISIS losing territory on the run is what matters most. Bullets beat tweets or likes every time, sir. Are you overestimating the role of the internet here?
Well, I completely agree that what is really important is denying ISIS physical space on the ground, winning that real battle. But there is also a battle for ideas, and there is a huge group of people in the Middle East who are making their minds up at the moment about Islamic State. And we have to be out there winning that argument with them. And this is one of the reasons I worry about the rhetoric, particularly in America at the moment, around building bigger walls, because it switches off that large group of people whose partnership we need if we're going to survive the next century together.
You're coming to us from the Middle East, of course, a region where diplomats are busy. Sadly, a little too busy sometimes, coping with crises. The Iran nuclear deal was the result of massive diplomacy, and if we are ever to solve serious problems and end 5 years of crippling civil war, it's probably going to take a stroke of diplomatic genius. So social media users won't be doing that. It'll be diplomats secreted away in quiet rooms. Are you in this book and telling me today that you suggest the diplomat is dead?
No, I mean, quite the opposite, in fact, Becky. I mean, I think The Iran nuclear deal was a classic example of an old-style negotiation, and it worked very, very well for the fact that it was held mainly in secret, and that John Kerry and Foreign Minister Zarif weren't live tweeting every element of that negotiation. But what I'm talking about is this enormous smartphone superpower we have now as diplomats, but also as people beyond diplomacy, to engage with populations on an unprecedented scale. And we're only just at the beginning of understanding the power that gives us, but also the responsibility that gives us to be in those difficult arguments, not just with the elites in the country, the 20 key people in the country, but with the population at large. And that's what I was trying to do in Lebanon. It allowed us to reach people that we would never otherwise have reached.
Tom, it's been a pleasure to speak with you. Your book is a great read, Naked Diplomacy, and on the back GQ quoted here as saying, where most political figures are careful to the point of anodyne, Fletcher is refreshingly frank.